If you aren't already using RuneLite, you've started off wrong. It's a client that you can download directly from the Jagex game launcher, and I couldn't play with a normal game client to be honest, and once you see the ways that you can upgrade your gameplay with the plugins available on RuneLite, you won't want to either. Before we get into it, the plugins that I'm mentioning in this video will be available by clicking this banner. If it's inbuilt into RuneLite, they'll be in this list, and if you can't find them by searching here, then it's an external plugin, which you'll find in the plugin hub over here. You just need to click install on the ones that you want, and then you'll find them back over here. Alright, I'm going to start off with the Wiki plugin that shows this Wiki button under the mini map, and by clicking it and then clicking basically anything in the game, you can bring up the relevant Wiki page. You can also right click this button and choose search, and then type anything into the chat box to bring up the relevant Wiki page without leaving your game client. Side note here, if you enjoy using the Old School Wiki, you could also turn on the Wiki Sync plugin as well, which is helpful for the likes of quest guide pages or achievement diary pages, where it will highlight, tick off, and X things based on your account's actual progress. Alright, next up let's talk about Quest Helper. It'll add this tab to the bar on the right hand side of your client, and in here you can see all the quests and achievement diaries, filter them by difficulty, only the ones that you meet requirements for, and lots more. You can also sort the quests in the optimal order for normal or Ironman accounts, which will give you some sort of guidelines for a route of progression. Clicking a quest or an achievement diary from this side menu gives you all the information and steps that you could need without leaving your RuneLite client. It also displays arrows on your minimap, highlights navigation paths, shows you the solution for puzzles, outlines the NPCs that you need to talk to, and loads more. One thing that could easily be overlooked though is this little icon in your bank that comes with Quest Helper. Clicking it brings up the items that are needed for each step of the diary or the quest, and it saves a lot of time searching for them one by one. It even shows the ones that you don't have in your bank, so you know what you need to get before continuing on with the quest. And speaking of quests, I actually found changing a few settings in the quest list to be quite helpful. Just click the settings cogwheel here. I've set it to show the quests that I haven't met the requirements and stats for as unavailable, which shows them as this grey colour by default. I've also hidden all completed quests and the quest list headers to clean this list up a little bit. There are a few more settings here you can change if you want, but that's all I've done for now. Moving on now to the menu entry swapper plugin. This is an incredibly helpful plugin that will give you a huge quality of life upgrade. With this, you can hold shift and right click on basically anything in the game to change how your clicks interact with it, using the swap left click and swap shift click options here. In the settings menu for this plugin, there are also some easy changes to make, like setting your arty cloak to wear under the item swaps menu, or swapping talk to Lee for an easy exit after a Temperos game by ticking this box under the NPC swaps. Under object swaps, you can set stairs to left click to climb up and shift click to climb down, and in UI swaps you can set it so that shift clicking will deposit or withdraw all of an item when you're at the bank. These are small changes that will hugely upgrade your quality of life while playing RuneScape, but the changes don't stop there with these settings. As I mentioned, you can hold shift and right click on almost anything to change your interactions with other things in the game too. For example, I've changed the left click option on the bank in Lumpy Basement to open the food shop instead. And I've changed shift click to open my normal bank here. I've also set my Graceful's left click option to wear, and I can easily deposit it using shift click. At the Draenor seed shop, I've set the default left click to be buy 50 for the seeds that I buy for my birdhouse runs quite often. The uses for this one are basically endless, and it's definitely something that every player needs to turn on. Seriously, just get this one if you haven't already. You'll find a use for it soon enough. Next up is the World Hopper plugin, and I think this might be one of my favourites. It lets you hop to the next world with one simple keyboard press. Simply use Control, Shift and the right arrow to move up a world, or Control, Shift and the left arrow to move down a world. If you're buying buckets of sand from a charter shop that only sells 10, just hop to refresh the stock and buy out the shop in the next world too. And if you know the number of the world that you want to hop to, you can type : hop, leave a space, and then put the number of the world that you want to go to next, and it'll take you right there. This is perfect for while you're AFK mining some shooting stars. Alright, let's look at the bank for a minute. Bank tag layouts lets you add more tabs to the left hand side of your bank, and these are a great way to add in setups for different minigames, bosses, or for doing things like herb runs and tree runs. Click this plus here to make a new one, and then right click the tab to change its icon to something that you can easily recognize it by. So if I wanted an easy way to gear up for Temperos, I'd put on my gear and get my inventory ready, and then simply right click the bag icon down here and choose tag inventory, and do the same for the gear icon here too. Now you don't need to search your bank for these items anymore. One click on this tab lets you find everything that you need to get ready quickly. You can also right click the icon here and choose enable layout. This lets you reorder and mess about with the placement of items, and doing that in here won't actually affect your normal bank tab ordering and layout, which is so nice. I'm sure this plugin is massively helpful for doing raids and stuff later on in the game too, but I've never been there, so I can't speak to that yet. Staying on the bank for another minute, there's also a bank plugin that lets you enter your PIN with your numpad or your keyboard instead of clicking it, which is so much easier. And there's another setting in here which is worth noting, which is the option to disable left-click banking of your inventory and your equipment. And the amount of times that I've accidentally done that before realizing that this actually existed is something that I don't want to talk about. Let's talk about the time tracking plugin next. It stores all the information about where you've planted things and when they'll be ready so that you don't need to remember any of it. You can check each category individually or see them all at a glance. And you can turn on notifications for each thing so you don't waste a second, and you can get straight to harvesting and replanting if you like that kind of efficiency. I sure as heck don't. What I do like though is status bars. This plugin won't actually have that much of an effect on your gameplay, but it is a nice visual upgrade. It lets you see your health and prayer bars beside your inventory and lets you resize the thickness of them if you're using this layout. There's also a setting in there to hide the bars while you aren't in combat for a clean, minimalist look. You can also change them if you want to. If you're a skiller and you don't actually really need to see your prayer, just disable that second bar, or you could change it to show your run energy instead. Another visual upgrade is the addition of the skills progress bars. This plugin gives you an incredibly satisfying visual display of your progress towards leveling up your skills. I've set mine to be the lowest possible height and match the indents for a clean look. And if you didn't want it to show all the time, you could tick this box to only show it when you hover the skill instead. Entity Hider is perfect for hiding the massive players running around mini games like Guardians of the Rift, and a simple toggle of this will remove everyone else from the game. In the settings, you can choose whether you want to hide your friends, NPCs, clan members, and more. The chat filter plugin won't make a huge difference, but the small impact that it does make is so nice. Ticking this little box beside collapsed game chat will reduce the spammy messages in chat. Now, if it's going to be the same message as something recent in your chat box, it'll just update the number beside it in brackets instead, which is useful for when you're doing things like hunter rumors and you're catching 40 kebits. It also kind of helps to keep count of things like this too. Just like the previous ones, the idle notifier won't affect your actual gameplay, but it will give you an audible notification when your player isn't doing anything, so that you don't miss out on getting that AFK XP that you were getting on your second monitor at Ammonite Crabs or at Redwoods. Ground markers is a great plugin for highlighting the square that you need to stand on to safe spot something, but I also find it handy to remember where the heck the bank is in the gnome stronghold. Just hold shift and right click and choose mark tile to highlight any square in RuneScape. You can do that again to change the colour of the tile, and in settings you can change the thickness if you want to. And you can tick here if you want them to show up on the mini-map as well. The final plugin I'm going to talk about is called Emote Clue Items, and it's going to be massively useful for ensuring that you aren't dumping those items that may seem like rubbish right now, but one day you might wish you had them in your inventory for that clue scroll step. It highlights the items that are required for the emote clue steps with a different colour for each tier. Now you can clear your bank out without stressing about dropping things that might oddly be useful in the future. It works in shops too, so you can buy all the things at once instead of having to keep coming back here for each clue step. And it works in your inventory too, so you don't need to worry about keeping all the drops that you get from doing Slayer. Just keep the good ones and the clue ones and bin the rest. And finally, this isn't actually a plugin, but it did blow my mind whenever my friend told me about it. When your run is on, you can hold control when you click to force your player to walk, and it works for the opposite way too. When your run's off, control click and you'll run instead. The time and effort that I'll save moving my mouse all the way over here to flick my run on and off will surely add up and save me hours in this game in the long run. There are so many more plugins in this that you can use. I haven't even mentioned the ones that you can get specific to all the skills and the ones that make the minigames so much easier. If you want a second video with different plugins, let me know down below.